going to do my best to do a basic overview of hotkeys. Now, I want to mention that this is, as far as hotkeys go, it is very important that you learn your own style of hotkeys, because for everyone it's different. So this is just kind of to get you started, to show you the basics of hotkeying. And if you're someone who has played, you know, StarCraft a lot, or you've played it since you were a kid or whatever, then this is not really going to be the tutorial for you. I doubt you'll actually learn anything from this video, but I know that there are a lot of super new players out there looking to get into StarCraft 2, especially with the beta. You know, it's going to be over in about a month. The game's going to be out in, like, what is it, 17 days or something ridiculous like that. So it is definitely quickly approaching, and so I wanted to make this really quick to talk about the hotkeys, and also, yeah, basically just hotkeys and maybe a little bit of micro stuff. So right down here along this bar, this is where it shows all your hotkey groups. So if I set this to a bunch of hotkeys, you can see that it shows exactly what it's setting it to. So I set this nexus to 1 through 0, and so if I go off the screen and I hit, you know, I'll hit 5. It highlights 5. You can see it blinking down there just barely, and then it'll center it on there if you press it twice. So hotkeys are very, very important in StarCraft 2. It is one of the most important things that you need to learn in StarCraft. Even if you're only using really basic hotkey groups, it will make your game so much better. It will just blow your friends away if you're trying to get better than your friends. So, what I usually do is I have my main building. I keep in mind I do play Protoss. I usually set my main building to 3. So, for now, I'm just going to take all these off and set them to a probe. And so I usually have my Nexus set to 3, so you select whatever you want to set the control group to. You hold the control key on your keyboard. Imagine that. Sorry, I don't know what it is for Macs. I'm such a Mac noob. Anyways, you hold control, and then you just, while you're holding control, you press 3. And so now that control group is set to 3, you can cycle between these units very easily. So if I press 1, because I have probe set to 1, if I press 1, it'll center it on the probe if you double click, and if I press 3, it'll select the Nexus. So that's how you cycle between control groups very, very easily. And so I usually have my Nexus set to 3, because for Protoss, the hotkey for probe is actually E. So I hit 3 and then E, and then I basically go to whatever control group I have after that. It's just really easy. If you set your hand on your keyboard, for at least for Protoss, this is how it works. If you set your hand on your keyboard with your middle finger on 2, and then your index finger on 3, and what is it, your ring finger on 1, it's just really easy to hit 3 and then E, and it's very, very easy to do it like that. So that is what I set my Nexus to, and also Chrono Boost is going to be the hotkey C, which your Nexus has, you know, Chrono Boost. So you basically hit 3, C, and click on what building you want. Now, that is so much faster than going, so say you're over here, and you're messing around with your zealots. Yay, like down here. So say you're microing a little bit. Just to do 3C, and then, so 3C and then click. I missed it there, actually. So 3C, click. That is so much faster than having your zealots selected, then coming up here, clicking on your Nexus, clicking on Chrono Boost, and then clicking on what building you want. It's really, really important that you get to know these basic hotkeys. It really does make your game go more than twice as fast. Like how fast you play will more than double once you get down just basic hotkeys. So just 3C and then Chrono Boost on the building you want. I usually will set my gateways, so I'm going to actually throw down a couple more gateways here just to, you know, have more than one. But I usually set my gateways to 2, and this is in the early game. So now I have 2, so I have 3 for Nexus, 2 for gateways, and 1 for, in the beginning it'll be my first probe, and then later as the game progresses I'll set my army to 1. So now I have 3 Nexus, so I can go 3C and then click on any of my gateways or my Nexus. 2 will be my gateways, and then as soon as I get a cybernetics core out, then I will change the hotkey for my gateways, because with Protoss, once you get a cybernetics core out, it actually has a built-in default hotkey, which is W. So once you have your gateways turned into warp gates, you can access those by pressing the W key. And so then after I do that, I'll have to research it here in just a little bit, and I will Chrono Boost the heck out of it. Then you can get rid of that second hotkey for your gateway. So I'm just going to make a bunch of zealots here, and yeah, so I just do that. So let's make some more pylons. And another important thing is learning the hotkeys. Well, that guy actually got stuck. that doesn't happen very often, is learning the hotkeys for all the basic buildings. So with Protoss, it's just really easy. If you guys can help it, you at least don't ever want to click the hotkey for Nexus, Assimilator, Pylon, Gateway, and Forge, because these are all buildings you're going to make almost every single game. So you want to be able to make those as much as possible. I got to keep making guys here to make sure I don't die from the computer. So if you have your probe selected, all you have to do is press B to bring up the build tab, and then Nexus, it's pretty self-explanatory. Oh, I'm under attack. I can handle that. And so you have your probe selected, you press B, and these ones are really self-explanatory aside from Pylon. So Nexus is in, so you just do B in. I mean, it's so easy, like they're right next to each other. You can do that so fast. There's no reason to click that. And then build Pylon is BP. Or not BP, it's BE rather. Sorry, I'm used to StarCraft. I actually played StarCraft 1 right before the beta came up. So it's BE, and again, you can do that pretty easily once you get used to it. And you're going to make, 20, 30, 40 pylons a game. So you want to get to where you're really comfortable hitting BE. And it's really simple. It's very important that you do that. So Assimilator is just BA. So BA, 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 BA. Like, you cannot do this fast if you're clicking those buttons whatsoever. And what are my guys doing? Apparently they ran all the way down here and are now attacking the computer. So that's good. Oh, I don't have any gas. And so BE is for Pylon, BA is Assimilator, and then BG is Gateway. So if you just practice those, they're actually really, really easy to do. Now, once you get that down to where so if you're someone who doesn't use any hotkeys at all, just play a couple of games where you use one hotkey, and then work on using two hotkeys. So if you play Protoss, maybe just force yourself every time you make a pylon to do BE. Don't click it, just hit BE on the keyboard. It's a lot simpler than clicking it. Like it's for a lot of people it's out of their comfort zone, but I mean you can do this so fast with just with the hotkeys. And so that is why it's really, really important to actually use that. And BF is for Forge, so you can do that really easily as well. When I do that one, for some reason I do it with one finger, but you can do it very quickly as well on that one. And so it is very crucial to start learning these basic hotkeys. What I recommend to people who are learning StarCraft 2 like for the very first time, and they are trying to get these hotkeys down, or they're a little intimidated by the hotkeys, just learn a couple at a time and learn the most important hotkeys. Like, it is not super crucial that you know the hotkey for Fleet Beacon. I mean, yeah, later down the road, of course you want to know all the hotkeys, but how many Fleet Beacons are you going to make per game? Probably one tops, and you're not even going to make a Fleet Beacon in most games. So I mean, yeah, you can learn that later down the road, but gateways, pylons, assimilators, forges, nexuses, all that stuff, you want to learn those as quickly as you can. So I'm working on the warp gate right now, and I'll show you what I mean by it changes the hotkey for these. And again, as a Protoss player, learn all the hotkeys for the three basic units: your Zealot, your Sentry, and your Stalker. Zealot is just Z, Sentry is E, and Stalker is S. So if you look at those hotkeys on your keyboard, Z, S, E, they are all kind of diagonal right next to each other. Those keys are really, really easy to hit once you get used to it. So that is very crucial. Again, you may not need to know the hotkey for Templar, although it is pretty easy to do. But just learn at first the hotkeys for these gateway units. That is what I always recommend to people who are just now learning. Okay, and one more thing with Protoss is that you want to learn how to queue up buildings, which is really, really easy, but it makes it so much easier if you know the hotkeys. So I'm going to queue up a couple of pylons. So all you have to do is hold shift, press B for your build tab, press E, and then click, click, click. And that will queue up a bunch of buildings to make for the pylons. Now if you want to get and then, yeah, you can just basically queue up anything you want, and fairly quickly. Once you know all the hotkeys, this is so much faster than doing it any other way. So it looks like they're attacking me again. I think I can handle this. So now I do have my warp gates completed, so we'll just upgrade these guys to warp gates. G is the hotkey for that, and he's actually retreating. That's kind of cool. So now that I have my warp gates up, note that it puts a little warp gate icon right here. And you just press W to select your warp gates. That's all you have to do. So there's no reason to hotkey number 2. What I usually do is I will set my main army to 1 and my spellcasters to 2. Because it's just easier to do it. I think it's easier to do it that way. So say you have High Templar or something like that. I would set those to 2 and have your main army be 1. Or say you have stalkers and you're getting a lot of blink, I would set those to 2 because you want those to blink individually away from your main army. And so my main army will be 1, my casters will be 2, and my nexus will be 3 for chrono boosting as much as possible. And then you have the hotkey for warp gate. So if you're way down here, so say I have a pylon down here, I can just press W, and then, so I'm trying to make a stalker. Obviously, I don't have a pylon here. But that's how you warp in units across the map. You don't want to go back to your base and then select your warp gates and then come down here and then click the button and then do it. You can just be over here and then WSSSSS, summon in a bunch of stalkers across the map. It's very easy. And that is definitely, you want to do that. So you can unhotkey your gateways from there, and then at this point you basically want to have three hotkey groups is where you want to start out as. That is the best place to start learning with at least with Protoss, I think, is to have the 3 control groups, and then later when you get an observer, what I set the observer to is 0, because usually with observers you don't need to click on them ASAP. It's usually not a matter of seconds like it is with your army, because if your army is in the incorrect spot for even half a second, it can cost you a game. In observer, you usually have about half a second that you can spare to select it. So I really like to set it to 0, because in order for me to get that, I basically have to know I want the observer. And so say if I set it to 4 or 2 or something like that, like, I would rather accidentally select my army than accidentally select an observer instead of my army, if that makes sense. So having it set to 0, you can always keep track of it just as easily. It takes you a tiny microsecond longer to actually select the observer, but you can always select it and know where it's at. So usually what I'll do is I will have 2 observers. I'll have 1 observer that is following my army and 1 observer that is set to 0, to where I can always move it around to exactly where I want it. So that is usually what I use for that. And the hotkey for doing the advanced tab is V. And again, knowing the hotkeys for these buildings is helpful, but if you're just learning for the very first time, I would start with those first units and then slowly start to incorporate all these buildings. Because if you try and learn every single hotkey before you play your next game, like, you're just going to panic when you're in the game. So you just want to, be repetitive, keep doing it, and all that stuff. And so I think I'll actually make some High Templar here, just for kicks. And then, yeah, so once you upgrade these, again, using W is very important. And so if you just want to summon a bunch of stalkers, people ask me, how do you summon your stalkers so fast? Well, all you have to do, so we'll get these guys out of the way, is press W and then S as fast as you can, and just keep clicking, and that you basically get them the whole time. So not too shabby there. It is very crucial that you do it like that. You don't want to be, it completely defeats the purpose of a gateway if you click it and then click here and then click there. It just is a bad idea, and these guys are definitely, they got nowhere to run. And hotkeys for spells are very, very important. The hotkey for force field is F, and then you won't really use the hotkey for hallucination that much, but F you definitely need to know, and guardian shield is G. So F and G are basically, they're right next to each other when you have your sentries, and F especially is crucial. You want to be able to click that as quickly as possible to trap in units. And let's get some High Templar action going, so I can show you exactly how I would hotkey my groups. Depending on the game, like I said, if you have like 3 zealots and 20 stalkers with blink, definitely keep the stalkers in their own group, because blink is really good, and it's better if you just have these stalkers, hotkeyed together, as you want them separated from your army so that the blink doesn't really confuse your zealot. And so in this army composition, I would set all these guys to 1 and then set my High Templars to 2, because your High Templars, you really got to focus on them. You got to baby them and make sure that they don't get, completely owned. And so what I like to do, especially against like Terran, is have your High Templars, because Terran have EMP, remember, and if you just have your High Templars just running around with your army, everything's going to get EMP'd. You're making it easy for the Terran to EMP your army. So I like to grab out this High Templar and keep him separated from the rest of the army. So we'll get another one, set him to 2, and set all these guys to 1. And then you have your High Templar back here. Your Nexus is 3, your Warp Gates are W, and your Observer is at 0. So that's how I hotkey for Protoss. And you guys can see how it would be similar for any other race. So for Zerg, I usually do 3 SZ or 3 SD or whatever. I have my hat tree set to 3. For Terran, Terran, I usually have it set to 3 as well, because you can do 3 and then mules, and then 3 and then your scan and all that stuff. So it's really, really easy for either race to do 3. And same thing with casters, like ghosts I would probably have separated in their own group, and infestors I would have set to 2 and stuff like that, and then just the main army set to 1. And as you progress and get better, you can actually start to hotkey a lot more stuff. I just think that 4 hotkeys is the best way to start out, and to learn the basic units. So if you're Terran, you want to learn the hotkeys for Marines, Marauders, and like tanks and not vultures, excuse me, and Hellions and stuff like that. If you're Zerg, you actually don't have that many units to learn. You just need Zergling, Hydralisk, Mutalisk, Overlords. It's really important to learn that hotkey and all of that stuff. So I highly recommend doing hotkeys. Hotkeys, hotkeys, hotkeys. They're so very, very important that you really need to learn them and go from there. So I hope this video was helpful. I know it was kind of just thrown together, but I wanted to kind of show it in a real sort of scenario type situation thing. So I'm gonna go kill the computer now. Hopefully he doesn't have, you know, a bunch of stuff waiting to kill me. Oh, let's see. He's got some Void Rays, and he's got some. I have the computer set to easy, by the way. So the hard computers are actually pretty hard. That from what I've learned, they are definitely pretty hard. That's what a lot of people have told me. So I'm gonna try playing against one and just see how that goes. So another thing is you can actually let's unselect this guy. So there we go. Yeah. So one thing a lot of people don't know. So this guy is gonna be set to. Well, let's do it like this. Okay. So I have my main control group. If you select a building, and instead of pressing Control, well, it can be any unit. Instead of pressing Control 1 to set a new hot group, if you press Shift 1 with that building selected or unit, now when I press 1, it's part of the control group number 1. So you don't have to press 1, hold Shift, select it, and then do Control 1 again. You can actually just select anything and see, look, this guy isn't part of control group 1, but I select him and do Shift 1, and now magically he is part of control group number 1. That's just a pretty good tip. Oops, I've told my guys to move back. That is a pretty good hotkey tip as well, something a lot of people don't actually know about, and it can be very, very handy. And you want to, the whole point of hotkeys is to do stuff quicker, and so that is why you just, that's one thing to make it quicker. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I hope it was at least slightly helpful. I know it was a basic tutorial, but for anyone who doesn't know StarCraft at all, this could be a very helpful, thing. I hope a very helpful video. Apparently he has 2 War Prisms like a total boss. I'm just going to be leaving those sitting there apparently. And so, yeah, let me know if I left anything out. I can leave comments to answer any questions you guys may have. And that is going to be that. I definitely think that I won this game. The computer should be GGing here any second, as they cannot stop my awesome force of awesomeness here. That I'm like 25 minutes into the game probably. So that is that, and of course, I will see you guys next time.